Cliff Richard, now 85, has lived a life filled with music, fame, and choices that were both deeply personal and widely scrutinized. For decades, fans and the public have wondered why the man behind some of the most beloved songs of the 20th century never married. Though his fame and charm made him a cultural icon, there was a deeper, quieter story beneath the surface. Over the years, Cliff has reflected on the pressures that fame brought, the promises he made to himself and to God, and the choices that led him to navigate a life without a life partner. His story is one of sacrifice and resilience, where devotion to music and faith shaped his identity more than the typical pursuit of romance. From Harry Webb to Cliff Richard, nurture the rise to fame. In the late 1950s, Britain was in the midst of recovery from the war, searching for something to look forward to. Out of this environment emerged a shy, yet determined teenager named Harry Webb. By the time he was 18, he had already transformed into Cliff Richard, a pop sensation. His debut as a teenage heartthrob was instant, as screaming fans and overwhelming media attention made him a household name almost overnight. While he was adored by millions, at home he was still a boy under the guidance of his parents. The weight of the world was on his shoulders, and his life quickly became a balancing act between maintaining his identity and meeting the expectations of the public. Discipline over indulgence, a calculated approach to fame. As Cliff's career skyrocketed, he learned that success required more than just talent. It demanded discipline. The pressures of being a pop star were immense, and he understood early on that he had to guard his privacy and maintain control over his public image. The image crafted for him by producers was that of a clean-cut, charming young man, someone akin to a British Elvis Presley. While other stars may have indulged in the freedom that fame offered, Cliff chose structure, working tirelessly, rehearsing long into the night, and keeping his personal life carefully guarded. He learned to live by routines, finding peace in discipline and restraint, which allowed him to weather the storms of fame without losing his identity or his sense of self. The price of fame: achieving success, losing normality. The applause, the fans, and the recognition were intoxicating, but fame came with a cost. Cliff began to feel the absence of a normal, quiet life. The fame that brought him joy also reminded him of the things he could not have: stillness, privacy, and meaningful human connection. In his pursuit of stardom, he built walls around himself, not out of arrogance, but for self-preservation. As his popularity grew, so did the public's curiosity about his personal life. Fans and media alike seemed fixated on the question of why a man with such appeal had never married. But for Cliff, the pressures of fame were not just about the limelight. They were about protecting his heart from the complexities of romantic relationships. Love that could not be, the unfulfilled desire for companionship. Cliff Richard's journey with love was far from typical. While he experienced tenderness and affection, particularly in his early years, he consciously kept romance at arm's length. His first serious relationship with Delia Wicks, a dancer he had known long before his fame, was filled with promise. They dreamed of a life together, away from the glitz and glamour of the public eye. But the reality of Cliff's constant touring and filming schedules prevented that dream from ever becoming a reality. Though their relationship ended, Delia's love for him endured, and she later wrote him a letter expressing how she still cared for him, but could no longer wait for someone who could never truly commit. This letter became a poignant reminder for Cliff of what he had gained and what he had lost in his pursuit of fame. The friendships that endured, a life built on connection. Throughout his life, Cliff formed deep, meaningful friendships, but he never allowed them to cross the line into romance. These relationships, built on mutual respect, shared values, and trust, became the emotional anchors of his life. As a public figure, Cliff understood the importance of privacy and boundaries. Even when friendships seemed to hold the potential for something more, he remained focused on his career and faith, believing that love could be expressed in many ways, not just through marriage. He found fulfillment in these close, non-romantic connections, choosing to build a life rich in loyalty and trust rather than romantic entanglements. Faith as foundation, a commitment beyond romance. In 1966, Cliff made a decision that would reshape his life forever. He was baptized and embraced Christianity with deep conviction. His faith became the foundation of every decision he made, from his music to his personal life. Marriage for Cliff was not simply about companionship. It was a sacred union that required commitment and stability. With his constant touring and unpredictable schedule, he knew that marriage would not be fair to his partner. Instead, he chose to devote his energy to his faith, believing that love and devotion could be expressed in ways beyond traditional marriage. His discipline, rooted in faith, provided him with clarity and peace, even when others misunderstood his choices. Living a life of choice, resisting public pressure. Cliff's life was often under the microscope, with constant speculation about his personal choices. Despite the relentless curiosity about his private life, he never allowed public opinion to define him. He met questions about love and marriage with grace, humor, and the knowledge that these were deeply personal matters. Cliff recognized that by maintaining some level of mystery, he could preserve his integrity and protect his emotional well-being. While fame often brings pressure to conform to societal expectations, Cliff remained resolute in his beliefs. He found peace in the choices he made, even if they didn't align with the conventional path that many of his peers took. Building a different kind of family. Relationships that matter. While he never married, Cliff was never isolated. He surrounded himself with close friends and colleagues who shared his values and provided him with support, companionship, and understanding. These relationships became his chosen family, offering the emotional connection and stability that many people find in romantic partnerships. Cliff's manager, Bill Lam, was one of those enduring friends who played a significant role in his life. Through mentorship, shared experiences, and a commitment to one another, Cliff created a life filled with loyalty, laughter, and love, all while maintaining his privacy and commitment to his faith. Loyalty, service, and fulfillment. A life well lived over the years, Cliff's friendships and devotion to service became the framework for his life. He found purpose in charity work, music, and being a positive influence on others. Love for him was not confined to marriage but was expressed through his actions, his friendships, and his commitment to God. Through his years in the public eye, he never allowed fame to change the core of who he was. He lived a life of discipline, clarity, and moral conviction, and while there were moments of loneliness, he never saw them as a punishment but as a natural consequence of living intentionally. The love he experienced was always rooted in purpose, not in romantic fulfillment. Facing loneliness with peace, accepting the quiet. Though he found deep fulfillment in his life, Cliff Richard was not immune to moments of solitude. There were times when he felt the ache of companionship that never fully materialized, but he didn't view this as a regret. Instead, he saw it as the price of living a life true to his convictions. The silence he experienced was a natural companion to the life he chose, a life of discipline, purpose, and devotion. While others may have sought romantic relationships to fill the spaces in their hearts, Cliff found peace in solitude, knowing that his choices had allowed him to live authentically. A life without regret, embracing the choices made. At 85, Cliff Richard stands as a testament to the power of living life with intention. He reflects on his choices without bitterness or regret, understanding that his decision to forego marriage was one that allowed him to focus on his music, faith, and personal values. There were moments of longing for deeper companionship, but he accepts that the path he walked provided him with rewards that surpassed the conventional markers of happiness. His legacy is one of purpose, service, and authenticity, demonstrating that a life fully lived does not require romantic love to be meaningful. Achievements and legacy, more than fame. Cliff Richard's legacy is defined not by what he lacked, but by the countless contributions he made to music, charity, and the lives of those around him. His 6 decades in the spotlight were filled with success, but also with a deep commitment to living according to his values. He shared his version of love through his music, his charity work, and his friendships. Cliff's ability to navigate the temptations of fame while staying true to his principles sets him apart as a pop icon who lived his life with grace, integrity, and purpose. enduring principles, a lifelong commitment to faith and service. Even as time has slowed him down, Cliff's commitment to his faith and principles remains unwavering. He continues to perform, record, and engage with his audience, embracing each day as an opportunity to share the wisdom he has gained from a life dedicated to service. Cliff's story reminds us that fulfillment does not come from meeting societal expectations, but from staying true to what we believe in. He teaches us that love, in its many forms, can provide a life of deep meaning and satisfaction, and that true happiness is not found in romantic fulfillment alone. A life fully lived, finding fulfillment beyond romance. Cliff Richard's journey is one of discipline, devotion, and deep connection. He found fulfillment not in the traditional measures of love and marriage, but in the relationships he built, the music he created, and the faith he embraced. His life stands as a reminder that true happiness is not bound by conventional expectations, and that love can take many forms. Through his example, Cliff has shown us that a life lived with purpose and integrity is a life well lived, regardless of whether it conforms to the typical narrative of romance and marriage.